Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday night, Luke Live Online. I'm Father James DiLuzio with the Paulist Fathers, back in the library of our rectory in New York City. Happy to be with you. Tonight's pericope is Luke chapter 19, verses 28 through 39. Now, this is the beginning of the Passion story and Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem from right outside the city in the Mount of Olives. So let's just quickly review what 19 gave us. The past 2 weeks we had the beginning of 19 is Zacchaeus, that man so interested to be freed from all the prejudices against him as a tax collector, to be freed from his own sense of lack of worth and be freed of his own dependence so much on money for his self-esteem. He climbs a tree, remember, and then Jesus says, come down. He does. So we have that great sense, as I preach so often, on you want to really know Jesus, you want to have the heart of Christianity, come down to earth. Always come down, be conscious of our common humanity. That's where we find Jesus. That's why God came down, to be fully human with us, our common humanity, what we have in common with everybody. All the very basics that keep us dependent on God and one another. Never to take that for granted. And that's the way the world and nature works. An interdependency, and for us an ultimate dependency upon God. Then the next passage after Zacchaeus, Jesus tells the parable of the talents, how important it is. You have to live a faith. You can't just know about it. It's not just what we know. It's not only what we learn. It's what we experience. And that brings us into the heights and depth of faith experiences. But every experience becomes enriched as we bring our faith to it. So that does prepare us in a real way for the Passion, to come down to earth with that recognition. Jesus then will go up to Jerusalem, take up the cross to bring us in better connection with our God. And we'll explore the meaning of all of that in the weeks to come. So here we have Luke chapter 19, verses 28 through 39. After he had said this, Jesus proceeded on his journey up to Jerusalem. As he drew near to Bethphage and Bethany, at the place called the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples. He said to them, "Go into the village opposite you, and there you will find a colt tethered, on which no one has ever sat. Bring it here. And should anyone ask you, 'Why are you untying it?' you will answer, 'The master has need of it.'" And so those who had been sent went off, and they found everything just as he had told them. And as they were untying the colt, its owners said to them, "Why are you untying this colt?" They answered, "The master has need of it." So they brought it to Jesus, and they threw their cloaks on the colt, and they helped Jesus to mount. As he rode along, the people were spreading their cloaks on the road. And now, as he was approaching the slope of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of his disciples began praising God aloud with joy for all the mighty deeds they had seen. They proclaimed, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest." Some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." He said to them in reply, "I tell you, if they keep silent, the stones will cry out." So, powerful moment in the life of Jesus and with people of faith. Here, again, we have that sense, this is the expectation of all the disciples up to now. Peter and all the rest of them, Andrew, John, Simon, Bartholomew, all of them. This is it. he's getting the recognition that he needs. He is going to be our king. He is going to get the Romans out. We're going to have our nation. This is it. This is glory time. And this is what the people are expecting as well. Not only because of all the miracles they had seen, they're equating him with Elijah, they're equating him with Moses, they're equating him with King David. Hallelujah. We're getting a little bit of the angel's announcement to the shepherds. Glory to God in the highest. It's all right here. Everything is coming together. And yet, of course, Jesus is going, as he's come up, he's going to bring us down into the deep realities of the way people harm themselves and harm others, what we call the sins of the world. He's going to expose it all to then bring us back up to the height of our humanity and our union with God. So there we have it. Let's see any quick things. Also, notice in this case, the Pharisees sometimes have very bad reputations in the Gospels. They're rigid. They're overly critical of Jesus. They're not open to what he's really talking about. But here, actually, these are sympathetic Pharisees. They're worried about him because there are Roman soldiers watching, and the people are calling Jesus king. I mean, that's, you could be crucified for that, trying to take over and replace the emperor. So they're saying, tell your disciples, don't call yourself, don't let them call you king. But Jesus knows it's all a different purpose. And he allows it, he invites it even because he wants to change the definition of king. And as we already know, it's not one who lords it over others, but it's one who serves, and not only serving those in his company, but those beyond it. So there's a lot to ponder about the Christian faith here in the beginning of the Passion narrative and the Mount of Olives. Notice Luke puts the emphasis again on the lowly and the people spreading their cloaks, deference to Jesus. There's no mention of palm fronds in this one, although we do get the palms mentioned in Matthew and Mark. I think both. I'd have to double check, but I know it's not in Luke. So there we are. Any comments or questions, please put them down in the comment area. And hope to see you Friday for Friday night, Young at Heart. And we'll continue to balance our faith stories, opening us up to a down-to-earthness, and then our children's stories for adults to help us stay children of God. How's that? I mean, that's the plan. I hope you like it. I've enjoyed sharing this with you tonight. Have a great week, a spirit-filled week. God bless. Oh, don't forget, February 2nd, the presentation of the Lord. Bring candles to church to have them blessed. It's also the last day to keep your nativities out, your creche, your manger scenes. Quite a long tradition of keeping them up till the presentation. And then on the 3rd, put them away. And then come to church for your throats to be blessed on the Feast of St. Blaise. See you Friday. Good night.